keys on the keys, and it's too easy. We're back with another video today. A couple things. First of all, I have read your comments. I have read your requests. We are starting Napoleon Wars on there. Let me know if you want me to do the whole playlist, because I'm not. I mean, as much as I would like to, I don't want to sit and watch an hour-long documentary if they have it broken apart and if they have it broken into separate parts. So I'm probably gonna watch every video of the playlist. I'm just gonna go down the playlist. Simple. Second of all, we are really close to 4,000 subscribers. What y'all have been flooding in here in the past week, you know what I'm saying? Welcome, welcome to the channel, my guy. You know what I'm saying? You see what we do here. We don't just react to what's hot. You know what I'm saying? We don't just do what's hot. We try to learn around here. We try to learn something. I'm learning. You know what I'm saying? I learn from these. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna watch something, it should be something that you're gaining knowledge from. Of course, make it entertaining, but try to gain some knowledge. Yeah. So we got Napoleon's first victory. The Eastery video, the Eastery animated Eastern Front, that will be out. It's probably gonna be out later. The other Epic History series will be out later. I'm trying to figure out whatever other videos that will be out later. So now we're gonna go on Napoleon Bonaparte, one of the most infamous generals in world history, leader of probably the world's biggest army at the time. And then they get defeated by the Haitians, I think was it 1803? I'm getting confused. It was either 1799 or 1803. The Haitians beat the French and won independence. And the crazy thing is, ever since Haiti won independence, the world has not been kind to Haiti. Ever since that earthquake hit in 2010, somehow did not touch the Dominican Republic. We're not going to talk about that though, and that's another story for another day. How's a whole earthquake hit? How's an earthquake hit an island basically, and the whole island not get affected? But hey, I still don't see all the aid that was supposedly poured into Haiti being used. But again, I digress. Let's just get to that's the question. You know what I'm saying? Napoleon's first victory, Siege of Toulon, 1793. Like I said, this is uncharted territory for me, so I'm learning as much as you. So.
History TV History March collaboration, supported by our sponsor, Osprey Publishing. In the summer of 1793, the French Revolution was entering its fourth year, and France was on the verge of anarchy. In Paris, political extremists had seized control of the revolution. They guillotined the king and imposed a reign of terror that dealt summary justice to all suspected enemies of the revolution.
I know impossible. Just think about now how, you know what I'm saying? How easy these leaders were to access back then. You know what I mean? You could literally go and chop the dude, and you can literally go and chop the dude's head off, and it wouldn't be a whole mob of Secret Service trying to get you. I've seen President Trump, somebody trying to run up on stage, dude was tackled by 47,000 security guards, and bro, just, you know what I'm saying? That's just crazy. You're not even safe as a leader. They don't like you, they off with your head.
Hoping to unify the new republic, France's leaders had declared war on the Habsburg Empire. But the conflict quickly widened, and soon France was facing the combined might of Europe's leading powers, determined to stamp out her dangerous political experiment. Meanwhile, whole regions of France had come out in open revolt, horrified by the new extremism of the revolution. In August, the Republic suffered a further, potentially fatal blow when the city of Toulon joined the revolt. Toulon was France's largest and most important naval base in the south, home to a third of the entire French Navy. But now, rebels welcomed their old enemy, the British Royal Navy, into the port, led by Admiral Lord Hood, aboard HMS Victory. It was an extraordinary coup. Without a shot being fired, the Allies had crippled French naval power in the Mediterranean and gained a vital toehold on the French coast. All French forces in the area were immediately diverted to face this new threat and lay siege to the rebel port. 19,000 troops in all. But since most French officers had been aristocrats who were now fleeing the revolution in large numbers, they were seriously short of professional leadership. Their commander, General Jean-François Carteau, was a loyal Republican, but a court painter by trade with no military training.
Jean-François Carteau, and I like the French accent is like really like it just oozes like fanciness. You know what I'm saying? You hear somebody pronounce something in like a French accent, like it's just Jean Carteau, François. You know what I'm saying? It just breathes like elegance and like Victorian style life, like mad embroiderment.
To make matters worse, one of his few professional officers, his artillery commander, Colonel Dommartin, had been badly wounded on the approach to Toulon. Antoine Salicetti, a Corsican deputy of the National Convention in Paris, recommended as his replacement a fellow countryman, a 24-year-old artillery officer who was passing Toulon en route to the front, named Napoleone Buonaparte, or Bonaparte. Bonaparte was a professional soldier, but he'd seen almost no active service. Nevertheless, Salicetti was impressed by his manner, and most of all, his politics. Bonaparte had just written a political pamphlet, a short story about a young artillery officer who berates his fellow diners for their disloyalty to the Republic. General Carteau thought it wise to accept Deputy Salicetti's recommendation.
One can remain 24, if necessary, 36 hours without eating, but one cannot remain 3 minutes without gunpowder. Wow, that's definitely a sign of the times, just the climate, like just like like I've said before, the extreme sense of nationalism, the extreme sense of pride, like country, like homeland pride. Obviously, Napoleon was for like, you know what I'm saying, was like hardcore Frenchman. You know what I mean? If they had to go to war, they had to go to war. That's basically what he meant. Like we need to be in the mood to fight. We need to be in the right state of mind to fight all the time. Like that's definitely what I'm getting from this right now.
The great port of Toulon was well defended by city walls and a dozen outlying forts and redoubts. They were held by 2,000 British soldiers and sailors, 6,000 Spanish troops, 6,000 Neapolitans, and 800 Sardinians. Artillery would be the key to overcoming these formidable defences. But when Bonaparte was put in command of the artillery on the 16th of September, he found himself with few cannon, not enough trained gun crews, and a shortage of gunpowder and shot. With relentless energy and determination, Bonaparte transformed the situation, requisitioning unused guns, training infantrymen to work them, setting up a new forge and workshop, and arranging transport from Marseille of 100,000 sandbags for constructing new batteries. Through hard work, he was ultimately able to build his force up to 64 officers and 1,500 men, manning 100 cannon, howitzers and mortars. Within days, Bonaparte had established 2 new forward batteries with good revolutionary names, La Montagne and Sans-Culottes, which brought Toulon's inner harbour within range and forced Admiral Hood to move all his ships closer to the port. Bonaparte also came up with a plan, one that would allow the French to bypass most of Toulon's defences and secure the rapid victory the Republic so desperately needed. Bonaparte argued that if Fort L'Aiguillette could be captured, which looked out across the harbour, he could fill it with heavy guns and shell the British and Spanish fleet at anchor. Admiral Hood would be forced to abandon the port and take with him the Allied soldiers that Toulon relied on for its defence. General Carteau saw the merits of Bonaparte's plan, and on the 22nd of September, French forces attacked Montcaire. But to Bonaparte's exasperation, while he'd argued for an attack by 3,000 men, the indecisive Carteau committed only 400. Not only was the attack easily repulsed, but it alerted the Allies to the danger. Within 48 hours, they'd reinforced Montcaire with thousands more troops and built a new fort named Fort Mulgrave, bristling with 20 cannon.
You messed up. You messed up, man. You took that port. You could have had a vantage point over the whole sea because you already had the west. Now you have something to look over the north. Like you basically, there's no way they would be able to get out without being in range of your guns. Like y'all dropped the ball, man.
The position was now so strong, the French nicknamed it Little Gibraltar.
Wow, the amount of faith they had in him. One plane.
Finally, in mid-November, an experienced professional soldier arrived to take command of French forces, General Dugommier. He saw at once that Bonaparte's plan was the only way to take Toulon, and gave it his full backing. Bonaparte, promoted to major, got to work, overseeing construction of several more batteries in preparation for the decisive assault. One forward battery was so exposed to enemy fire that men refused to be sent there. So Bonaparte renamed it La Batterie des Hommes Sans Peur, the battery of men without fear. And suddenly, there was no shortage of volunteers. It was an early display of Napoleon's genius for inspiring his soldiers, one that would serve him well in the years ahead. On the 30th of November, the Allied Land Forces commander, British General Charles O'Hara, tried to seize back the initiative, leading an assault on the new French batteries facing Fort Malbousquet. At first, the attack was successful. The batteries were overrun, the French guns spiked. But a counterattack with much greater numbers, and led in person by General Dugommier and Major Bonaparte, drove back the Allies. General O'Hara himself was shot through the hand and captured.
Wait. So it's the French. Wait, I know I'm late, but it's the French versus everybody. Oh, okay. That's basically the French versus everyone now, because everyone's like, oh no, we can't have a revolution in France. What? Nah. So it's basically all the countries against France. Like they got balls.
12 years before, he'd surrendered to George Washington at Yorktown, during the American War of Independence. Now he got to surrender to Napoleon Bonaparte. In the early hours of the 18th of December, in howling wind and driving rain, the French launched a major assault on Fort Mulgrave. The wet conditions made muskets useless except as clubs or with bayonets. Bonaparte led the second wave in person. Amid fierce hand-to-hand fighting, his horse was killed under him, and he was bayoneted in the thigh by a British sergeant.
How would the wet condition? How would the wet condition? I guess like the only thing I'm thinking about is like I guess like mud could get caught in like mud can get caught in the chamber. I'm guessing, and it could be like hard. It'd be hard to clean. Like that's what I'm thinking. Like, I mean, most people are not shooting out in the rain. I don't know. Like, I'm like I said, I'm not super experienced with. I'm not experienced with like firearms and stuff. So I'm just trying to think like how would that even be possible that rainy conditions could? I guess you could, if you could. The only possible solution I'm thinking of is if it jammed up the chamber, maybe mud got in the chamber and it was impossible to clean, and then the bullet wouldn't be able to come out, or it could get stuck in the chamber. You know, the gun could get jammed. You know, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody had the same weapon back then, so you know, if your muskets wasn't working and my muskets wasn't working, we close quarter combat bayonets. That's all we bayonet charging.
A wound that came within inches of ending his life and radically changing the course of history. Finally, the Allied garrison was overwhelmed, and Mulgrave fell to the French. Fort Leguillet and Tour de la Balaquière were soon also in French hands.
There we go. That's what y'all wanted to hold. That's what y'all wanted. That's what y'all wanted.
By the following afternoon, the French had 10 heavy guns in Leguillet, placing the Allied ships within range. Admiral Hood could not expose his valuable ships of the line to such a threat. He had no option but to order an immediate evacuation of the fleet and garrison from Toulon. Small Spanish and British teams raced to destroy all the French ships and naval stores that they couldn't take with them. But amid the chaos of their departure, 18 ships of the line were allowed to fall back into French hands. A badly missed opportunity. Many French citizens of Toulon were desperate to escape aboard the Allied ships, knowing that the Republicans would inflict terrible reprisals on the city. British and Spanish ships took as many as they could, about 14,000 in all, but scores were drowned amid chaotic and desperate scenes. Others were left to face the wrath of the revolution.
Just imagine that, though. You basically know. So you got a whole country that's in the midst of a revolution, but you want to be the one town that's a rebel. But the thing is, you have nothing to do with the rebellion. Like you don't want to rebel. Like you're with the mother country, and still you're stuck in the place where as soon as France gets back, everyone in that town is getting massacred. You know, and the fact that imagine people are climbing up on top of boats, trying to get on boats, just climbing on boats, and then people drowning, and like the French army was really pulling its weight, was really flexing its muscle. I'm telling you, the French. Like first it was the British, now it's the French.
Republican troops entered the city the next morning, and executions and firing squads began almost immediately. For the next 2 weeks, about 200 were executed every day. Allied propaganda later blamed Bonaparte for the atrocities, but there's no evidence he was directly involved. France's young republic was now fighting back on all fronts. And with the fall of Toulon, the Allies had lost a golden opportunity, a chance to stir up further revolt, deal a lasting blow to French naval power, perhaps even overturn the revolution. But instead, the French Republic had weathered one of its greatest storms, in no small part thanks to the remarkable judgment, energy and courage of one 24-year-old artillery officer, now promoted Brigadier General in recognition of his extraordinary service at Toulon. Napoleon Bonaparte had taken his first step on the path to greatness. And for Europe, 21 years of almost constant war awaited. Our sponsor, Osprey Publishing, has nearly 200 titles on the Napoleon.
Like, definitely, like, we're talking like late 1700s to like mid 1800s. It was a whole lot of wars, like 7 Years' War, the 7 Years' War, the French, it was the Spanish American War. No, it was the Mexican American War. I forgot what the name of the war was. It was between the British and the Indians, and the colonies and the Indians. That was back in the United States, back in like the early America. You got the War of 1812. Like, it was a whole lot of conflict, and just the fact that Napoleon was able to do this at such a young age, at only not even 25 years old, and already leading an entire nation, leading an entire revolution against 7 or 8 other countries. Like, just the guts, and just the amount of studying he had to do, the amount of knowledge that he had to know, the amount of military knowledge that he had to gather. Like, that's amazing. But I'm definitely looking forward to doing this, because this is interesting. It's great. This is mad. I like these. I'll be all into it and all that. Anyway, thank you again for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel. We are almost at 4,000 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen. 4,000. You know what I'm saying? 4,000 organic subscribers. You know what I'm saying? Didn't buy any views. Didn't buy any subscribers. No sellout videos. All organic. You know what I mean? It's just growing a fan, growing a support, growing a family. You know what I'm saying? It's not just, I don't want to call people a fan base, because when I call somebody a fan, I feel like I'm putting you below me. Like, oh, you're my fan. Like, oh, it means I'm above you. Like, you're a support. I say a supporter. I just say a supporter. Like, you're a supporter of mine. Like, that sounds better than, oh, you're my fan. But anyway, also check out my gaming channel, because I just like live streamed last night. You know what I'm saying? Just random. I just did a random live stream. Anyway, thank you again for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to turn on my post notifications if you haven't already. Be safe, please. Social distancing. Stay home. Do what you got to do so we can get this thing over with, because I want to enjoy my summer. Have a great day. Stay on the grind. I'm out. Peace.